So Fauci, again, was making the rounds on Sunday. You'd think that this man in this pandemic that's getting worse and everyone's dying and we must destroy everything in the name of safety and all that, you would think that Fauci wouldn't have time on Sunday to, be going to all these shows. You'd think that they'd have somebody else doing the PR. He's old also. How old is Fauci? He's about 80 years old. I think he might be 81 years old, if I'm not mistaken. You'd think that they'd have other people out there running the public space of this because he'd be in there, like in the lab doing the science thing, and he'd have the thing, and he'd be, splicing DNA and combining things and all that stuff that scientists do. He's 80 years old. Well, no, he still spends all his Sundays doing all of these Sunday talk shows. And here he had some advice on what we can do if we're good vaccinated citizens in the upcoming holiday season.
And Dr. Fauci, lastly, we know the best way to keep safe is to be vaccinated. But what are your guidelines for the upcoming holidays? Will you be giving out Halloween candy? What do we do Thanksgiving, Christmas, and the other holidays?
Well, Martha, I believe strongly that, particularly in the vaccinated people, if you're vaccinated and your family members are vaccinated, those who are eligible, and that is obviously very young children are not yet eligible, that you can enjoy the holidays. You can enjoy Halloween, trick-or-treating, and certainly Thanksgiving with your family and Christmas with your families. That's one of the reasons why we emphasize why it's so important to get vaccinated, not only for your own safety, for that of your family, but also for the good of the community to keep the level of infection down. When you do that, there's no reason at all why you can't enjoy the holidays in a family way, the way we've traditionally done it all along.
Yeah, enjoying the holidays in a family way, the way we've done it all along, really has nothing to do with listening to people like him. I get it. He's probably not a horrible person. I don't know what's going on with him at this point. Do I think he's a Satan worshiper and he's trying to destroy the West? Possibly. But I'm not fully saying that. I don't know what's going on with this man. I really don't. But if we are to believe that the vaccines work, let's say you want to go home. Well, I talked about Halloween last week because last week he had already said you can do Halloween. So, we're allowed to go to strangers' doors. They were telling us, 6-foot social distancing and you got to spray down your shopping bags and everything else. Now you're allowed to go to a stranger's door and take candy from them. Okay, and we know that people just eat the candy right then. The kids are eating it. But okay, now that's okay, right? Even though, as he said, the youngest kids aren't vaccinated. Of course, what he didn't say is that virtually no kids have died of COVID. It's about 500 kids, 0.002%. There's a lot of evidence to show that those numbers are even inflated and that they had all sorts of other things. That's not to diminish any of their lives. Okay, got it. But now we can do Thanksgiving. But let's think about it. Let's think about it this way. Thanksgiving rolls around. He's saying if everyone's vaccinated, you're good to go. Well, let's say you have 10 people for Thanksgiving, right? And let's say you've got a crazy right-wing, freedom-loving, libertarian, don't tread on me cousin, right? And that guy shows up. And he's probably smiling. And he probably takes care of himself, too. And he knows that he's healthy, and he shows up. And I get it, he's right-wing, and he loves freedom and America. And he probably sent a couple bucks to Rand Paul. This is some nutbag. But, he shows up, and he's a pretty decent guy. And now you've all been vaccinated. Why would we think that he would get everyone sick if you've all been vaccinated? Can someone please explain that to me? I'm not a scientician. I'm not pretending that I'm one. But can someone explain that to me? Now, first off, just because you aren't vaccinated, it doesn't mean you automatically have COVID. That seems to be the new thing, that only vaccinated people can do things. But you're telling me that otherwise young, healthy people can't do the things that they've always done? How does that make any sense? I mean, this is exactly what Kyrie Irving, the basketball player, is talking about, Jonathan Isaac from the NBA, these guys who are saying, hey, I'm young and healthy, let's just go about living our lives, right? Was COVID spread at any NBA games? They haven't shown us any evidence of that. But when he says that everyone has to be vaccinated for you to get together, it's like, you don't care about families, Anthony Fauci. You don't care about personal choice. You don't care that people might take their age and health and all of those things into account. What you care about is you want to say something and have the minions do it. And you're not a king. You're not even an elected official. I think people are just going to go and do what they want. And by the way, when I say that, do what you want, it's like, first off, you should do what you want. You shouldn't listen to me other than I'm trying to talk about freedom a little bit, which I know is a very scary word. It's the F word now, And it's like, you should take into account whether you have a grandmother who's very old or someone else in your family that's very infirmed with something, and all of those things. But again, if the vaccines are to work, and they told us 100%, they told us, Biden said, once you're vaccinated, get out there, live your life and all that. That was back in May, June, and that is a perfect segue to this next compilation video that's making the rounds on Twitter. So this is spectacular. You really need to watch this. We're going to show you about 80 seconds of it, I think. It's about a 2.5-minute video, the full thing, but we wanted to cut it a little bit for brevity's sake here. This is over time watching how Fauci talked about the efficacy of vaccines. It was 100% up until where it's at now. So watch this. It's really, really well done. Do we know who made this? Because I want to credit them properly. We'll try to find it and put it in the description. It's really spectacular.
So now we have two vaccines that are really quite effective. The mRNA vaccine, highly effective, extraordinarily efficacious, 94 to 95% for mild to moderate disease, and virtually 100% efficacious, because the real world effectiveness is even more impressive than the results of the clinical trial. Shot. We've got to make sure we clarify that with people. It has nothing to do whether or not it's effective. We know it's highly effective. Highly effective.
I mean, tell me that's just not spectacular. And that's why these people want to censor the internet, right? Like, that is exactly why. They don't want us to be able to make videos like that and share videos like that.